Hello, everybody. Hello, Ted. Welcome to this not so happy Thursday, October 23rd, 2025. I don't know. It's not like a real Thursday, Ted, because of all the, like bombings in the oceans and like bombings on land and a lot of bombings.
Well, it depends, Manila. If you're a bombee, maybe you find it to be a bummer. But if you're a bomber, you might find it to be great fun.
That's true. I do think Pete Hegseth and like Tom Homan, I think they enjoy seeing images of bombings.
Oh, they're totally getting off on it. I mean, they're rigid and hard at the thought of blowing up some random Venezuelan, fisherman, or now
Not
Colombia.
even Venezuela, Colombian brown Latinos. Could be just a
randos.
bunch of tan guys from Miami.
Just totally. Yeah.
Could be a lot of tan dudes out there.
Yeah, totally.
Just saying. So we'll talk about that today for sure, because there's a lot to peel from that onion. I, of course, am Manila Chan. That over there is Ted Rall, fresh off of a deprogram rating straight over to the TMI show, the Ted Manila Information Show. We're live Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So please be sure to hit the like, the follow, the subscribe, and the share button, because it really does help the show grow. So like if you share on social media, like our little short clips, YouTube does all the shorts. I don't think Rumble does that yet. Maybe they'll get there, but YouTube does those shorts. If you guys share that really does help promote us within the algorithm, and then new people can discover us. So I would really appreciate it. I think Ted would too. Would appreciate it if you guys.
By the way, some breaking news on the sports from the sports world. This just came over.
It's your thing, Ted.
Long simmering sports gambling fears erupted into scandal early this morning as the FBI arrested at least two high-profile NBA figures, including the head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, Chauncey Billups, and he was arrested in Portland just hours after his team lost its season-opening game last night. They also arrested Miami Heat player Terry Rozier, a former first-round draft pick in Orlando. Former NBA player Damon Jones also has been arrested, according to someone familiar with the situation. He played parts of 11 seasons in the NBA between 1998 and 2009, including parts of 5 seasons with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Details of the arrests are not yet available, but 30 defendants have been arrested and charged in illegal gambling schemes. So this will be a story.
That's a lot. Well, Ted, it's been a while since we've had like a Pete Rose story. But for the record,
I was a big Cincinnati Reds fan as a kid.
Oh, Johnny I'm Hustle. Sure.
I used to see him all the time. Yeah,
I'm sure. But for the record, Ted, I think if
Charlie Hustle. That's what.
If your name is Chauncey, you should be arrested.
just on grounds of poofery or what?
Just bad naming, or his parents should be arrested. That's just Chauncey.
Yeah, my name is Chauncey.
Whose name is Chauncey?
That's a fair point.
Like I can throw those stones. My name is Manila, and I'm not Filipina.
Wait, that just rhymed, sort of.
Manila, not Filipina.
Yeah.
All right. With that, let's get over to the topics, because we're actually trying to practice staying on schedule, because
we're trying to become at the age of 60, 62, and whatever you are, Manila. We're trying to become professional broadcasters.
We may have done this on TV and on radio, like
for
decades. Real radio.
For decades, yeah.
But we're incapable of doing it here. Staying on time.
We really do bring out each's worst chronometric impulses.
Yeah, I think we egg each other on too much.
Everyone's always like, why does your show go on too long? And then it's like, and I'll be like, it's Manila's fault. And then people will be like, no, it's not. You couldn't shut up.
It's Ted. Ted, you have a lot more stories than I do. Or maybe I have mine. I don't share too many of them. But if they ever come up, then
It
people
would
are
be a
like,
two and a
you
half
did
hour
what?
show if you did.
It would be way too much. It would be way too much. So yeah, and then Robby says, don't forget, he likes to fight with us.
That's
And
true.
people do wonder, Ted, people do wonder if Robby is putting it on.
Oh
I've been
no.
asked that.
Oh no.
He's not putting it on.
By the way, people were wondering if you were upset at Robby and I for like kind of mansplaining on steroids yesterday.
No, because you men are naturally tards by being tards. Because anytime people talk about your sperm, your erections, you guys get all defensive, and all I have to do is just roll my eyes because every woman out there, we know, every woman that's listening, we're like, okay. The whole point to the whole thing yesterday is just that for once, somebody is shining the spotlight on your guys' junk and not our ovaries.
By the way, I just want to roll back kind of my posture yesterday and say I think you brought up an excellent point, and for the most part, you were right, and I probably should have not laid it on so thick. So I want to not really issue an apology, but like sort of a
I'm not offended.
semi retraction. Yeah,
I know I'm not offended, and
I don't
for
think you
folks
were
who are new,
offended. I didn't think you
and
were.
for folks, yeah, folks who are new to Manila, I've been a reporter for like more than half my life, so 20 some odd years. I've had a lot of things said to me, doors slammed in my face, people spat at me, mob shouting at me, held at gunpoint in the Middle East. The last fucking thing that is gonna actually offend me is a Ted Rall and a producer Robby. Give me a fucking break. So
then you won't be offended when I say quit yapping and let's get the show going.
Not offended. I'm gonna do the same to Ted so we can stay at our 11 o'clock mark because DMZ is gonna start soon at 11.
Yeah, that's right.
In the coming
next month
in November.
Yeah,
November.
I think so. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Let's rock and roll.
And is this one yours or mine? Yeah, this one's mine. Okay. The U.S. military has carried out a second deadly airstrike on a supposedly suspected drug smuggling vessel this time in the Eastern Pacific, marking a sharp escalation in those operations under Trump's so-called counter-narcotics campaign. The reason I'm using all the scare quotes and supposeds is there's no evidence whatsoever that's been presented. And according to people who've seen the evidence, there was no evidence even in secret in the White House. In rapid succession this week, 2 strikes targeted alleged narcotics boats in the Eastern Pacific. The first on Tuesday killed 2 guys. Less than 24 hours later, a second one killed 3 more. According to Hegseth, the vessels were operated by what the Pentagon calls designated terrorist organizations engaged in trafficking narcotics along known Pacific transit routes. These strikes mark the first publicly acknowledged use of U.S. military force against smuggling vessels in the Pacific. Until now, the campaign focused primarily on the Caribbean. Since September, at least 9 such strikes have occurred, most of them in the Caribbean, resulting in dozens of people being murdered. Pentagon footage shows small speedboats moving through open water before erupting into flames after being hit by precision weapons. Officials report no U.S. casualties. Well, how could there be? Critics, however, question the transparency and legality of these operations, murdering people just because. Legal scholars and some lawmakers argue that the administration has not provided public evidence. They didn't provide any public evidence. No. That's a fact. It's not an argument. Linking the targeted vessels directly to terrorism or cartels. They say the actions could stretch executive war powers into murky legal territory. Has. Diplomatic tension is rising. Officials from Colombia and Ecuador have expressed concern over these actions in international waters near their coasts. Analysts say that operations will strain regional alliances if civilian casualties or misidentifications occur, as has already apparently happened. At least 1 or 2 fishermen have been killed. From Washington's perspective, the message is clear. The administration is treating the drug trade as a form of warfare. Trump and DOD leaders have described the strikes as vital to cutting off fentanyl and cocaine shipments before they reach U.S. shores, even though fentanyl is not actually made in Venezuela or Colombia. And every vessel destroyed is one fewer load poisoning our communities. In fact, not true. For now, the Pentagon's campaign is entering a new phase, from seizing boats to now bombing them. The larger battle over legality, international cooperation, and accountability at sea is only beginning. Manila, it is impossible to overstate how completely outrageous and frightening this is. I mean, it's literally like, so the US government is reserving the right to murder people without, who they can't even identify, hundreds, if not thousands of miles away from its own borders, in international waters, near countries that themselves say, that basically that are targeting nationals of countries that do not manufacture the drug that the U.S. claims to be a victim of, and basically it's like we can kill whoever we want because we're the big bad United States. If any smaller, weaker country were doing the same thing, the UN would be in special session and we'd be thinking about an invasion force to overthrow their government. Imagine, this is going to be laughable. Imagine if Ivory Coast were to do this. Imagine if Senegal were to do this. People would be like, are you out of your fucking minds? Okay, it's no different. Just because it's the US. And even if there were evidence being presented, this would be so fucking murderous and illegal. It's crazy. Yeah. But the lack of accountability, basically, we're not even going to tell you who we think these people were and what we think they were doing and how or why we have that information. That's terrifying.
They're just saying, they're calling all of these people some drug transport, drug kingpins or whatever.
They can do that to anybody.
They can call anybody anything. They can call anybody anything they want without providing the evidence. As far as I can tell, you're just bombing Latinos on boats in the ocean. This last one, Ted, was so far out of our territorial waters. It went beyond the Mexican coastline. This was closer to like the Peruvian coastline. It was so far south at the equator, like beyond the equator. That is nowhere. How do you even know they're headed northbound to, I don't know, California? Maybe they were headed to Baja. Maybe they were headed to Mexico.
Do those boats even have that kind of range?
No, I don't. They look small, so I don't.
I guess they have tons of jerry cans. They could.
But the point is, you're bombing these small vessels.
These vessels were not headed, by any account, toward the United States.
So far away from where we are, thousands of miles away. Thousands.
The Caribbean's a big place.
No, this isn't even on the Caribbean side. This is on the Pacific side.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The one that happened yesterday. This is on the Pacific Ocean. So that was the first on the Pacific side. All the other 8 other ones have been on the Atlantic / Caribbean side. And even those are way literally near the equator. In case people don't know, our territorial land and waters are not at the equator.
Nowhere near.
And we are bombing literally boats in the Caribbean. I haven't
in the southern Caribbean. This isn't off the coast of Alabama.
No.
Right? This is
no.
The southern Caribbean
not
is
even the
big.
Coast of the Virgin Islands.
And to put this into perspective,
not even the U.S. Virgin Islands, Ted.
Look up how long it takes a cruise ship to go from Miami, which is the southern point of the United States. Cruise ship. And they haul. They go fast.
Giant ass cruise ship.
Imagine how long it takes them to get to Trinidad. It takes days, right? So that's how far it is.
So you're bombing little, and here's the thing, the bombing yesterday on the Pacific side that's going to get really, if you're starting to do that on the Pacific side, it doesn't happen very often, but it's been known to happen in San Diego, but the boats are usually originating in Mexico, and they come up like the Baja side into San Diego, where illegal migrants will run off onto the shore, like in San Diego or Orange County. But they're not drug mules. They're just illegal migrants. Like just that's it. And they are on these little boats. They're just, yes, Robby, just illegals. That's the only law that they're breaking, is crossing the border. They're not bringing drugs, therefore do not deserve to get bombed. But this is the new risk that we're running if we're starting to bomb in the Pacific. Now, on the Atlantic side, where it's been happening, and I've been mortified. I mean, like this is mortifying to hear that not only is there no evidence being provided, and it's just all hearsay by the U.S. government, and of course we can trust everything the U.S. government tells us about who and why they're bombing anybody or anything.
Manila, they're not even bothering to 100%. Lie. They're not even bothering to honor us, to have the
to make up a good story.
Literally, we don't even deserve a story. It's like literally, not even a good one. It's like literally like your husband's been out all night, comes home like, you know, covered with like various secretions on his face, and then you're like, "Hey, honey, where have you been?" And he's like, "Fuck off, make me breakfast." That's literally that's literally what he does.
This is Pete Hegseth right now.
Yeah,
and Tom Homan. But this last, well, the one before last, I mean, Ted, we're at number 9, the 9th bombing of random boats in international waters. The 9th in a matter of a month.
Yeah,
in a month. This is crazy. So, Ted, the one before yesterday's, the one on the Atlantic side. So allegedly there were two survivors, right?
Yep.
And they have been repatriated back to Colombia. It turns out they're Colombian, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were.
And not repatriated to go to prison. They were repatriated and
because obviously they were innocent of wrongdoing.
Innocent fishermen. Okay. So are we to believe that the 2 that died and the 2 that survived, 2 of them are drug smugglers, but 2 of them were fishermen? That's what I'm supposed to believe at this point? Like, so if that's an indicator out of one little vessel, how many of the other 8 are also totally innocent men that are just literally sitting? The boats weren't even moving. Some of the videos that they have released, the boats weren't even high speed, you know, like these, they weren't speedboats headed dashing towards Miami. They weren't doing that.
No, in fact, by all accounts, they were heading either toward Africa or Trinidad.
Some of them were just sitting in the ocean, not moving.
Well, the Colombian fisherman was stranded. So, you know, like there's those stories of fishermen who like their engines fail and they're stuck at sea, and then fortunately we get them like 100 days later and they're severely sunburnt and they had to drink their own piss in order to survive. Well, I guess nowadays you wouldn't make that because Trump would blow you up.
So I would say for all these, look, a lot of people escape south. The winter's coming. People go south, right? Like all these snowbirds. And a lot of people like to go boating in the fall in Miami and whatever, because it's beautiful, obviously, right? I'm gonna put this travel advisory out there for anybody listening. It's a Manila travel advisory. If you are somewhere in a coastal southern state and you and your bros want to go on a fishing trip or something, I'm going to advise against it, especially if you happen to have tan skin.
That could be a problem. Well, having tan skin these days is a serious fucking problem. I mean, whether you're on the streets of a major American city or
when Home Depot.
When you're hanging out at Home Depot. Look, this is a time when we need to find out what that skin whitener was that Michael Jackson used to use, and start distributing that out in the hood.
There's a lot of those actually, like out in. I did a story about this many years ago for the magazine that I worked for. But all the brands that a lot of them are Unilever brands, such as like like Nivea and other like Nivea. I know, for example, not here in the U.S. because it's considered racist. Johnson & Johnson has a brand called Ambi, AMBI. That's geared towards Black women. But it's skin lightening cream. It's like supposedly, but they say it's meant for like if you get a scar,
if you have blemishes or something,
like blemish scars, or you have a nasty scar from like you fell on your face riding a bike or whatever, and you have dark spots.
As one does.
I mean, Joe Biden, plenty of those marks on his face from falling off bikes, but truly, that's what those are marketed for. But women have been known to slather it on to try to lighten their skin. It's not so much a thing here in the U.S. because Americans like to be darker. Tan. Yeah. But in Europe and in Asia, those skin lightening creams are a big booming industry. They're everywhere. There's, just all kinds of stuff over the counter. You don't need to be Michael Jackson to go get the pigmentation lightening. But it's a thing in Asia. It's a whole industry.
For sure.
Anyway, we got to hit up Sir Bikes a Lot. Thank you for the donation. Sir Bikes a Lot says, I can answer Robby's question. Just as the fanatic of MAGA want to own the libs, the fanatic libs want to own MAGA. They're just two sides of the same coin. That and nobody likes secret police.
That's true too.
All true. I'm gonna toast to that one. Yeah, that's all true. Both sides want to own each other, but like no one brings like a valid solution to anything.
No one has anything
for owning.
Yeah, no, that's true.
It's just all I want to own.
All retards. Yeah.
All right, but let's move on to this next one. All right, so the U.S., in case you haven't heard, the U.S. has imposed additional sanctions on Russia. I didn't know there were any more sanctions possible, Ted, after over 1,000.
They were holding some back?
I didn't know that you can invent more types of sanctions, but literally over 1,000 sanctions since the Biden administration.
Everybody gets a sanction.
Everybody gets a sanction. So new sanctions rolled out last night, citing, quote, lack of serious commitment to a peace process. All right. The new restrictions target.
Are they going to impose sanctions against Israel and Ukraine too?
No,
because they don't seem to have a very serious commitment to a peace process either.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. But do they have oil though?
Israel will have oil after it takes over Gaza, because Gaza has oil.
Well, that could be, yeah. Well, the new restrictions target two of Russia's largest oil companies, Rosneft and Lukoil, plus 34 subsidiaries, according to the U.S. Treasury Department statement put out last night on Wednesday. According to media reports earlier, the EU has also agreed to a new sanctions package on Moscow, including a pledge to further reduce imports of gas and oil. That'll show them, Ted. The EU's like, we're gonna pay more for heating this winter. That'll show them.
Indeed.
We don't want that cheap Russian oil. Those assholes. The new package will target 4 companies involved in China's oil industry. This is coming from the EU, that allegedly circumvent Western restrictions. That's what the EU claims. The list may also include Indian companies. That's coming from European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. She proposed that last month, and now they're moving forward with it because obviously Donald Trump just issued these new sanctions last night. So now the EU's like, okay, we're going to echo that sentiment. And meanwhile, EU countries are at odds over how to use a proposed loan for Ukraine funded with frozen Russian assets. How do we spend other people's money? We're going to loan out other people's money with some pushing some of the lawmakers in the EU pushing to restrict spending to European-made weapons, while others want U.S. arms. EU officials are debating a so-called reparations loan of about 140 billion euro That's 162 billion US dollars for Kiev, which is to be guaranteed by Russian assets that were immobilized by the West after the escalation of the Ukraine conflict starting in March of
Manila, I have to
2022.
interrupt you. So I'm, not always that sharp in the morning. So are you saying that the loan to Ukraine is, okay, so we will lend you all this money, and if you default, we will take Russia's money?
In effect, yes. But what they're basically
So what
saying
motivation would there be for the Ukrainians to pay it back?
But here's the thing. The EU doesn't personally have that kind of money to give Ukraine. As you know, Germany and France, their economies are
That's
stalling.
why they want to steal Russia's money.
Yes. So they've now frozen Russian assets that were held in their banks. And they are going to loan Russia's money to Ukraine to buy EU-made weapons. That's the loan is, like let's say if you go to the bank, as you know, you're a homeowner, you go to the bank and you say, hey, I want a home renovation loan, right? It's specifically for that thing. Like I want to remodel my kitchen.
You can't use it to go on a cruise to the Caribbean,
right?
Where you might see boats being blown up. Yeah,
correct. Like sightseeing of bombings. Yeah. You have to show the bank receipts that you're remodeling your kitchen. That's your home loan. That's your home remodel loan that you've applied for and the bank approved. So the EU is considering loaning out Russia's assets that they had to Ukraine in order to spend on European-made.
No, I don't think that's true. They said that they were using Russia's assets as collateral for the loan.
No. That's one of the proposals. But as far as I know, the way they're going to spend it, because the EU doesn't have its own, they're illiquid. They have nothing to loan.
So there's several possible ways that this could look.
Okay. Bottom line is they're going to use Russia's money.
One way or the other. Either directly steal it or indirectly steal it.
Indirectly in a loop-de-loop. Bottom line is Kiev must use the loan to buy Euro weaponry, not American weaponry.
And then there's the question for the Ukrainians. If you're Ukrainian, you must be asking, I thought you guys liked us. How come you won't just give us weapons? I mean, we've been invaded. The Russians are kicking our ass.
They're protecting you. That's the narrative,
We're getting our asses bombed here. And so you view this as a marketing opportunity to sell us weapons. You don't care about us.
Yes.
You just want us to pay you money.
It's business, Ted. It's business amongst friends. There's just doing business amongst brethren Europeans.
It sounds like frenemies to me, but okay, that's me.
Just brethren Europeans. And we'll talk about your accession into the EU. We'll talk about that. You take this loan. I think I might be able to get you into that club, into that EU club, Ted.
Woohoo!
Come on, Mr. Yuki. I know you want to join.
Yeah.
You want to join the EU, buddy. You got to take this loan. That's how all of this works. So according to this proposal, Kiev would repay only if Moscow covers the damages incurred in the conflict. Moscow has repeatedly condemned Western efforts to use the frozen funds to aid Ukraine, calling the move theft. Yes,
well, that's because that's what it is.
So, although the EU has not yet agreed on the plan, they say friction, this is a quote, friction is already growing over whether to attach conditions to the loan. One idea being pushed by France and to a lesser extent Germany and Italy is to ensure the money, quote, flows back as much as possible into the EU's defense sector and not across the Atlantic, meaning to us damn Yankees. So France, Germany, and Italy are like, hey, like America, like Donald Trump is, we love him. Don't want any of these $150 billion to get to the U.S., if you know what I mean. You got to buy our stuff. So this pressure has led to a draft summit with conclusions emphasizing the importance of reinforcing the European defense industry. Because, Ted, as you know, Ukraine is the gateway into Europe. And the only reason the Ruskies have not just steamrolled straight into Western Europe, if not for the will of the Ukrainians holding them back.
Right. And that's amazing because, despite geography, the Ukrainians don't really stand completely between Europe and Russia at all. I mean, not geographically.
Oh, they're not positioned like Turkey, you mean? Like with the physical land, like one piece of land blocking between Asia and Europe?
I mean, yeah, it's just, there's the whole lack of this being true problem. But, I mean.
None of it needs to be true, Ted. None of it. We're living in 2025. Men can be women, women can be men can be pregnant.
Cats can be dogs. Yeah.
Cats can be, Volodymyr Zelensky can be a legitimate leader.
He could be tall.
You could be anything so if Ukraine wants to be the gateway to Europe, they can identify as such. Mm-hmm. So I think you're being racist if you're
almost certainly. Yeah.
I'm in fact anti-Semitic, Ted, because Zelensky is Jewish.
Supposedly.
He represents global Jewry. So
Jewish people are usually cooler than he is, and he's not very
They're
cool.
usually funnier than him too. I've seen some of his shows.
He's a comedian, right? I mean,
I didn't find him very funny. And
no, he's not. I mean, it could. In fairness, that could be a cultural issue because humor is different in Ukraine.
Maybe I don't know. I've seen. I don't know. Maybe
Is that a pierogi? Are you happy to see me or whatever? Yeah.
Maybe maybe it's a Ukrainian thing. I don't know. But all my favorite comedians and comedic actors are usually Jews. So maybe it's an American Jew thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, one particular concern from the EU is that the buy European clause that they're writing into this offer, Ted, to Kiev could block Kiev from buying crucial American weapons, including the Patriot air defense system, which, the Ukis were just here. They wanted Tomahawks. They're asking for Patriot, and Trump said, no. And this week, Washington said it will not join this EU-led initiative. This is where I'm kind of happy to read this part of the news, Ted. Because under the Biden administration, it was proposed by the G7 that America be a party to this massive bank fraud and theft of Russian funds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where they had money stored in American banks, they had money stored in Japanese banks, just money sprinkled out all over the place. And the G7 nations all agreed with Biden, we're going to take the Russian money. Trump, on the other hand, to my surprise, we were MFing him just a moment ago about bombing random brown people on boats, but to his credit, he's saying here that he doesn't want any part of this. He says that the outright confiscation of frozen Russian assets, estimated around $300 billion. This is total between the G7 amounts and the European amounts, would be illegal and would undermine. Well, he didn't say. Somebody from Trump didn't say this, but
obviously it would be illegal.
Would be illegal and undermine the West's credibility. I've been saying that since under Joe Biden, when Biden's people proposed, because we know Biden didn't propose it because nobody was home upstairs. Russian President Vladimir Putin said, quote, "Those who are smarter in the West, obviously, are going to oppose seizing Russian assets, while warning that Western moves to confiscate the funds would later not go unpunished." I don't know. Yikes.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, there are a lot of American assets and Western assets in Russia. A lot of them are companies that basically abandoned their businesses, but they still own them in Russia. And at the beginning of the war, and Russia did not confiscate them, but they said that if you take our shit, we will take your shit. And they're kind of like saying, like the Russians are saying, don't go down this path. It's a dangerous path. It would be bad for us all. Just don't. And I mean, basically, they're being reasonable. Manila, my favorite discussion about like laws of unintended consequences here related to this issue is the fact that Germany might be subject to its own reparations for World War II, because after all, it broke the entire world in 1945, right? So literally everyone that Germany fucked with could sue the shit out of them if this precedent became legal in European courts. And they never paid anything. It was sort of like, let bygones be bygones.
Well, okay,
shit
that's
happens,
over.
whatever.
We duked it out.
Yeah, we're done.
We duked it out now.
Everyone go home now. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Right. We duked it out. All right, fine. Well, look, this is I think somebody in the Trump administration, not saying Donald himself, but somebody in the Trump administration is wise enough to say, if we start playing with these reparations talks, there's about 13% of Americans that have been talking about reparations. You could be opening a can of worms. So maybe we don't get into this whole reparations talk with the Yukies.
Manila, what did America ever do to black people? Oh, right. That's right. Oh, yeah. I remember now. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Just checking.
I thought we gave them NBA contracts.
Oh, right.
To which now they're getting
and some nice housing projects.
But now they're getting arrested for the NBA contracts for throwing games, apparently. So that's crazy. Hey, we haven't had a good sports controversy, like I said, since Pete Rose. So this is going to get spicy because the Trailblazers, though, I mean, come on. Anyway, but anyway, back to this whole Russia thing, Ted. I think I've said this for the last 2.5 years since the Biden people, Blinken and Sullivan under Biden proposed at the G7 that we steal Russia's money. And I said, with our economy the way it is and people feeling very unsteady, and I said this on Sputnik, right? People feel unsteady about banking, right? They don't want, they're going back to like hiding money under their mattresses. And the banks aren't offering
silver
us
and gold
interest.
are sky high.
And these fucking banks aren't offering us any interest to hang on to our money and then loan it out, and they get the money. Anyway, that's a whole thing. But the whole world, if you steal the Russian money, what signal are you sending out to foreign investors with big money?
Yeah, it means that basically your countries are not safe. Right? I mean, obviously, you're not trustworthy. Your banks can't be trusted with their
park my
deposits.
Money with you. No. Look, if I'm some rich whoever from, I don't know, let's say I don't know, from Montenegro.
Okay.
I'm some heiress in Montenegro, and I'm like, I want to park some money, my billions somewhere. I'm looking for a bank, and I'm like, I don't know, these American banks. They're just closing your accounts and seizing money because, my boyfriend is a Russian oligarch.
Right.
And they're going to seize his money and say that our money is commingled, right? And they're going to seize all my shit and seize my boats and seize my yachts and seize my house.
Which is not good.
And sure, you're thinking, okay, these are like only relevant to billionaires or whatever. But the rest of us plebes, we see what's happening to those billionaires, and it trickles all the way down to the waitress who doesn't want to put money in the bank account because she's afraid, that
it causes concern.
It's a ripple effect all the way down to the Joe Schmoes. And it is a bad precedent to set if you're stealing billions of dollars from another country. So somebody somewhere is actually smart enough in the Trump administration to tell him, Mr. President, they're talking about reparations for Ukraine.
Well, but he hasn't put not smart enough to have Trump call up the Europeans and say, cut it out.
Not yet, but I think that'll come. But I think Ursula von der Leyen I think she's a very abrasive lady, and I think she has
despite being German, you just can't imagine.
No, I can't. I cannot. I mean, just
so
look
strange.
At her lion's mane hair. I think she has grand. She's like the Hillary Clinton of Europe. I think she has really grand designs for herself, and she's really leading the charge on this. And she's like super, super anti-Russian. And I've heard, I don't know if this is true, I've never done a genealogy thing, but not myself, but I've seen online that her genealogy is basically that she hails from like SS men or something like that, right? That her family was a bunch of
really Nazis.
Yeah. And that's why she actually hates the Ruskies, is because the Ruskies beat the Nazis.
Yeah, beat the shit out of them.
Yeah. So
for which we are, normal people are grateful, but
Right. So I had heard that's why she's like out in the front charge, this charge leading the charge of like being the most anti-Russia European politician is that's what I heard. I don't know if that's true, but I've seen supposed evidence. But if that's the case, if there's some kind of blood libel happening here or something,
so strange.
Okay, it could potentially make sense, but I think it's a bad move, and I hope Donald Trump stays on this side of the financial argument. Don't get involved, because we want to do business with people, don't we? I mean, I thought Donald Trump was a businessman.
That is my thought too. I mean, the thing is, obviously Donald Trump must have many, many foreign bank accounts, right? More than he can count, I'm sure.
Oh, so, yeah, I didn't even think about that. But yeah, he must.
I don't even need to make the next point, right? Duh. Right?
Tit for tat, Ted. Tit for tat.
Very strange.
All right. You've got this next one.
Okay. Although, let me pull it up.
A near and dear story to my heart.
Where are you? There you are.
My people.
Okay. Icelanders may be the last group of people on Earth to experience the pesky bite of a mosquito. This week, Iceland recorded the presence of mosquitoes within its borders for the first time in history. The discovery of 3 Culaseta annulata mosquitoes was confirmed Monday by the Natural Science Institute of Iceland, which said the mosquitoes likely arrived by freight and appeared to be able to withstand Iceland's climate. There have been previous reports of mosquitoes found in airplanes on Iceland. Well, that's not that shocking. The Institute noted that the mosquitoes were one of a number of new insect species discovered in Iceland over recent years due to a warming climate and the growth of international transportation. Insect enthusiast Bjorn Haltason said he found the mosquitoes on a farm in Kujos, just north of Reykjavik. At dusk on the evening of October 16th, I caught sight of a strange fly on a red-white ribbon, Haltason told Icelandic broadcaster RUV. I immediately suspected what was going on and quickly collected the fly. It was a female. Haltason later trapped 2 more. All 3 insects were later turned over to the authorities for testing, which revealed that they were 2 female and 1 male mosquitoes. Antarctica is now the only place on Earth believed to have no mosquitoes. Climate change is causing temperatures to rise across the world, and the Arctic region is warming at more than twice the rate of the global average. According to the National Science Institute of Iceland, the species Culaseta annulata are large mosquitoes present in Europe and other Nordic countries that can live in cold weather, usually finding shelter in outbuildings and basements. Though they sting, the institute said they don't carry known infections in those areas. One study from 2017 said Caluceta annulata are often regarded as a biting nuisance rather than as a deadly foe. There are more than 3,000 species of skeeters across the world, some of which can transmit severe and even fatal diseases through their bites, like malaria, dengue fever, and of course, West Nile virus.
I did not. Okay, granted, when I was there this year, it was like right at the start of March, so it wasn't quite spring yet. So I just assumed that there's no mosquitoes because it's so freaking cold. But I thought it was because it was still winter. I did not know that they
didn't live there.
I didn't know that. I didn't. So mosquitoes don't live in the cold. Robby, do mosquitoes live in Montana?
Yep.
Oh.
But Montana can be quite warm also.
Yep.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, that's true. It can be hot. Yeah, Robby said there's like triple digit days.
Well, there's mosquitoes in the Arctic, like in.
But I thought the article just said there aren't.
But in the Arctic, like for example, famously, there's swarms of mosquitoes in places like Alaska, northern Canada, and places like that. Yeah, no, for sure. They come up from the permafrost and they're fucking insane. When you travel in places like Labrador, like I did a couple of summers ago, you have to bring tons of mosquito netting, otherwise you'll be eaten alive.
Really? I mean, I know, like, obviously in Laos, like their beds are equipped with like mosquito netting, and
of course,
obviously, but that's like near the equator.
Temperature keeps them at bay usually, though. They can't fly when it's over 64 degrees or something like that.
Wait, what?
They can't fly when it's over a certain temperature.
When it's too hot?
At least maybe that's an American mosquitoes thing, because there's so many varieties. Yeah, if it's under 64.
Yeah, I was like, what? They like when it's hot.
Yeah, they like
other
it
way.
Hot. They're like Billy Wilder.
Yeah,
they like it hot.
They like it hot. I did not know that Iceland had no native mosquitoes, and that's kind of scary to think. And look, I've said it a million times. Like I would, if I had that kind of money, I would go to Iceland every year for vacation. It's so beautiful, and to think, like, you looking at the glaciers, like it's just amazing, right? Like it's amazing. It's just amazing to look at, and then you get the northern lights, and it's so beautiful, and I can't imagine. And potentially in my lifetime, before I'm a dead old lady, right? Hopefully I live long enough to be, old. But it's crazy to imagine that the climate can change enough that those glaciers won't be there, and that there will be mosquitoes zooming around. Like
But that is what's happening. I mean, look, in the 1980s, I remember, I was living in New York City then, and I heard a report about climate change, and they said, within 20 years, New York City is predicted that it will have the same climate that is currently in Memphis. And that turned out to be an optimistic prediction. Basically, we ended up with like Birmingham, Alabama's, climate at the time, and it's just going to it's getting worse and worse constantly.
Well, that story makes me sad, and I'm one of those people that are prone to being eaten alive.
Yeah, me too. Well,
are you?
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, they love me.
What's your blood type?
A positive. Yours?
Oh, I'm B positive. I said that's the kind of student I was too. That's how I remember.
I was A positive.
Were you a student?
Oh yeah, I was.
Nerd.
I know I was a nerd. What? Yeah, I mean, what is B positive? Isn't that a little bit unusual? Is that just Asian?
It's primarily in East Asian blood groups.
Not as rare as AB and stuff.
No, it's not that. It's only like 1 in 10 people. So, 1 in 10.
So that means you can only get from an O or from a B, right?
No, I can get from anyone with a plus, with an O or a plus.
What? You can get from an A positive?
You can get AB. I can get AB.
But you can't get like A or B, right?
Yeah, probably not an A though.
You can't get A. You can get B.
No. but there's a lot of people with the plus.
So quit eyeing my blood.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out. There's still all these different hypotheses, and no one's proved any of them about why certain people get eaten alive by mosquitoes.
Yeah, some people think it's based on what you eat. Other people think it's like something else, genetic.
I get eaten alive. It's really bad, and I hate using like DEET and stuff like that. But like, I have no choice because all bugs eat me. Like I cannot, like, I go for a hike and my legs, I come back, I look like I have leprosy. It's disgusting. But all bugs. So
So you're a little allergic too, because if you have the big boils, that means
yes,
you're having an allergic reaction.
Yeah, I'm allergic to like everything. But when I went to Iceland, it was great because there were like no bugs, and I got to hike up in the mountains, and it was fantastic. Like, no swatting things off my face. It was amazing. So I hope I would like to keep them like that. And then I'd like to free the
puffins.
Next
trip will have to be to Antarctica,
I guess. But I want to free the puffins, Ted, like they do every year. They get the puffins and throw them in the, like we reported, we throw the puffins off the cliff. Puffin, fly.
Puffin tossing.
I want to puffin toss one day. Like that's a new life goal. All right.
The thing is, we're going to keep hearing these things. And I guess what really bugs me is so many people who deny. They hear a story like this and they just shrug and they're like, whatever. There's no such thing as climate change caused by human beings. But clearly there is. And it's very serious.
Well, I guess if people if they don't enjoy being in nature, it really doesn't hit close to home. You know what I mean? If you don't travel, if you're not like much of an avid traveler, then you don't have an appreciation for how I want homeostases for certain, you know what I mean? Like, I would like, even when I go home, I would like the Malibu coast to keep looking like the Malibu coast. And even that has changed in my lifetime. So when I go home.
How so? How's it changed?
It's eroded. Like it's eroded closer to the homes that, well, now they're all burnt down. The Palisades. And those homes are burnt down. But if you look at aerial images of those same houses prior to this year's fires, those houses that were there in the 80s had much more coastline ahead of them, and as opposed to let's say 2020, the coast is right up on the basically on the tall piers of their homes, because their homes are partially on the cliff and like hanging off, and then they have like the piers dug in.
So what's causing the erosion? Is that a climate change thing?
Just the ocean levels are rising, so the ocean is coming up closer to the rich people's houses. But it doesn't matter anymore because those rich people's houses are burnt down to the ground now. So it's literally the coastline has changed.
Right.
It's very sad because I told you I just drove up the coast in 2023. And I guess that was the last. I didn't know that was going to be the last time I saw those magnificent homes along the Malibu coast. I had no idea that, January 2025, the coastline was going to get burnt down.
Yeah, it's so weird.
So I don't know. I'm curious to see if those people have rebuilt, but I don't know how you could, especially given that the water levels have risen. And is it even safe to rebuild now that the water is touching the piers of your home? So I don't know.
Well, then you're basically living like in the Outer Banks of North Carolina, right? Where it's
not safe. You get washed away.
You're in Stilt House. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye. All right, last topic, and this is the one Robby's he wants to weigh in on.
Excellent.
So Cambridge, the university, is teaching students that Anglo-Saxons did not exist as a distinct ethnic group as part of efforts to undermine so-called myths of nationalism. So maybe this is a British thing. I don't know. Britain's early medieval history is taught by the Department of Anglo-Saxon, Norse, and Celtic, but the terms within its own title are being addressed as part of efforts to make teaching, quote, more anti-racist. Its teaching aims to, quote, dismantle the basis of myths of nationalism by explaining that Anglo-Saxons were not a distinct ethnic group, according to information from the department. The department's approach also aims to show that there were never coherent Scottish, Irish, and Welsh ethnic identities with ancient roots. Robby's telling me about the ad. So, okay. After I'm done reading this, Robby, just go ahead and put it up now, because I'm going to read through this and then we're going to put up the ad and then we'll get to our commentary. So apparently there is no coherent ancient roots. The increased focus on anti-racism comes amid a broader debate over the continued use of terms like Anglo-Saxon, with some in academia alleging that the ethnonym is used to support racist ideas of a native English identity. Information provided by the Department of Anglo-Saxon, Norse, and Celtic, the ASNC, explains its approach to teaching, stating, quote, several of the elements discussed above have been expanded to make ASNC teaching more anti-racist. Once concern has been to address recent concerns over the use of the term Anglo-Saxon and its perceived connection to ethnic or racial English identity, other aspects of ASNC's historical modules approach race and ethnicity with reference to the Scandinavian settlement that began in the 9th century. In general, ASNC teaching seeks to dismantle the basis of myths of nationalism that there ever was a British or English, Scottish, Welsh, or Irish people with a coherent and ancient ethnic identity by showing students just how constructed and contingent these identities are and always have been. So that's from the department themselves. One lecture addresses how the modern use of the term Anglo-Saxon has been embroiled in indigenous race politics by questioning the extent of settlement by a distinct ethnic group that could be called Anglo-Saxon. The term typically refers to a cultural group which emerged and flourished between the fall of the Roman, Britain, and Norman conquest, when Germanic peoples, the Angles, Saxons, and Jutes arrived and formed new kingdoms in what would later become a united England. This was also the period of Old English epics such as Beowulf. However, the term Anglo-Saxon has recently become embroiled in controversy, with some academics claiming that the term Anglo-Saxon has been used by racists, especially in the U.S., to support the idea of an ancient white English identity and should therefore be dropped. In 2019, the International Society of Anglo-Saxonists voted to change its name to the International Society for the Study of Early Medieval England in recognition of the problematic connotations that are associated with the term Anglo-Saxon. This was triggered. So this is much longer, but they're basically saying America bastardized it and that the UK no longer recognizes Anglo-Saxon. So I'm going to pause that, put a button on that. Oh, Ted, you're muted. I'm going to put a button on that, and then we're going to read the ad.
Okay, Ted, I'll read the ad. Here we go. Did you know the biggest threat to your retirement isn't something that's talked about often? Our increased longevity in America means default retirement accounts like IRAs, 401ks, and TSPs may not suffice. If you have over $100,000 in your retirement account, get instant access to a free 2-minute report from Augusta Precious Metals that reveals the one step you can take to secure your financial future. Text SAFE to 35052 today.
Oh, that's a short and sweet ad.
Yep.
Okay. So basically, I mean, the article goes on and on into further detail, but I'm going to bring Robby in because this is a story he pitched. And I believe based on his last name, West sounds like an Anglo-Saxon name. I'm married into an Anglo-Saxon family.
Well, if that exists, Manila.
If they exist, apparently, I don't know. Can I just tell all my in-laws that they don't actually exist?
Well, it's just the most racist thing. Well, it's just the most racist thing that there is. I mean, honestly,
you don't exist. West is Anglo-Saxon, right? I mean,
my family
Anglo-Saxon.
So I've been able to trace my family tree reliably back to the late 900s. So back in the days
900.
of the Danelaw and the Kingdom of and Wales. So my family, my surname originates on the English-Welsh border, which at the time was called Essex, which according to Cambridge University doesn't exist. So Alfred the Great didn't really, but it
Wait,
wasn't a
Essex
thing.
exists though. Essex, there's an area called Essex.
Yeah, but there's no white people that live there. I mean, they're all obviously sub-Saharan Africans who are colonized by white Europeans.
In Essex? Oh, I haven't been there in a long time.
Well, no, I'm being facetious. I mean,
it's possible.
No, it's not possible. I mean, this is the most racist thing ever. If you're going through,
well, it's not the most racist thing ever.
Well, I'm saying it's one.
I'd say slavery might be the most racist thing ever.
So,
right.
Deleting an entire indigenous group. So, if you're saying that if you're Saxon, Welsh, or Scottish, you don't have a national identity. You don't exist. You're just you're just there, but you didn't actually have a language or a culture. You have no history of your own. This thing called the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle really isn't a thing.
Right.
It's just all fake. And you should be grateful for the cultural diversity and enlightenment that you're getting by sub-Saharan Africans coming in who are able to start raping your children.
Wait, but the argument here was saying that you guys don't exist, but the Germanic and the Nords did exist, and they're the ones that migrated to, let's say, England, right? So basically, the English people don't exist, but the Germans did, and the Vikings did.
That's the thing, that the Angles and the Saxons were Germanic tribes. That they came from Jutland. That they went across after. So boring history lesson. So the Roman Empire, they abandoned Britain in the early 400s. The empire was falling. The Western Roman Empire was kind of falling apart. The emperor at the time was like, we just can't be here anymore. So they left. The Germans, being the Germans that they are, they invaded, because that's what Germans do. Germans, they see something, hey, that's a nice kingdom you've got there. I think I want that. So they go across.
That's a nice bank account you got there.
Very much so. So they go across, they take it. That's why the English language is a Germanic language. I mean, it has some Romance influence because of the French from the Norman Conquest. But I mean, it is a Germanic language, and then you're going to go one step further and say that there was no Saxon culture or no Scottish culture. The Romans would have loved that, because that meant there'd been no Picts. Hadrian would not have needed to build that wall, because there's no one up there to worry about fighting. They don't exist. I mean, this is like transhistorianism.
The way I read it, Robbie, is a little bit different than that, right? I think what they're trying to say is that anthropologically, the culture doesn't go back really, 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 really far. Anglo-Saxons, as an idea, goes to the 8th century, but I mean, it's kind of like I think it's kind of like a distinction without a difference, and I think Robbie's basically right. I mean, I think they're trying to say, look, these don't go back to the dawn of time. That's true about, say, the Uzbeks.
Everyone.
There's no such thing as an Uzbek before, like, basically 400 years ago. And it was kind of an invented term. There was no such thing as a Frenchman until after the rise of the Frankish kings in the 5th, 6th centuries, right? So and so basically it's like sophistry. It's like, well, quit saying that Anglo-Saxons are a thing, because they don't go back to the dawn of time. Like you said, Robbie, nobody does.
Well, that's like saying there's no such thing as an Italian before the 1870s.
Because that's true.
Because that's when the Kingdom of Italy was established.
But they're still Italians.
Of course they are.
And that's a Zionist argument about the Palestinians, where they try to say, oh, the word Palestine is new, although that's not true. It goes.
Well, Herodotus wrote about Palestine, so right. I mean, there is a thing.
But even if that were true, so fucking what? Ethnicities and ethnic groups are, they come and go.
So how old does an ethnic group or a culture need to be before it's recognized as its own thing?
I don't think there's an age test.
Well, it depends on if you're white or not.
According to Cambridge, there is.
I mean, honestly, it depends on if you're white or not. So, for example, you could go back to the Kingdom of Mali and say, oh, they had this great, vibrant civilization. I can't remember was it Masa Musa, who is supposedly the richest man on Earth and probably richer than King Solomon. And he had these big salt mines. And so he traded salt with the Arab world for gold. Built this massive financial empire that died whenever he died because, well, there was no legacy there. But to say that the Kingdom of Mali did not exist would be on its face not only factually inaccurate, it would be racist as hell.
It's ahistorical too.
Yeah,
but
of course.
That's one argument to say a kingdom, though. But are they then an ethnic group because they existed at one point in history?
Well, Anglo-Saxons are a hyphenated like shortcut, right? Because there's like, you mentioned the Jutes. There's the Jutes, the Saxons, and the Angles. And like basically in the 8th century, to sort of make it simple for people, for the Brits to understand their history, they were like, these Germanic people, which we'll just call the Anglo-Saxons, collectively came here, they invaded, right? Yep. That's I mean, that's true, right? It's like, so if you want to say, well, there's no such thing as like an ethnic group called the Anglo-Saxons, that's true. I mean, originally, but like it's come to we all know what Anglo-Saxons are, basically. We know what they are. They're Germanic Brits is what they are.
Of course. And that's the whole thing. And then to say, well, in order to fight racism, you have to deny that the indigenous people of this island ever existed. I can't think of anything that would frankly make me feel more racist than anything else, because you're then at that point you are trying to delete my history, you're trying to delete my heritage, and you don't get to do that. So
well, it's almost like they're trying to delete their own. Well, as far as the Brits go, they're trying to delete their own history of conquest all around the world by deleting their own history. So,
but I mean, it goes further. Did y'all see the story that I shared with y'all last week? This immigrant group in the UK, this parliamentarian. I don't have his name anymore, but he's saying that the British flag should not be flown because it makes immigrants feel unsafe and unwelcome.
Wait, the Union Jack or the proper?
The Union Jack, the Union Jack of the United Kingdom. It makes new arrivals feel unsafe and unwelcome. My answer to you is fuck off and go back from which you came then. If you don't like the flag of the country that you immigrated to, you decided to come here. If you don't like our flag or our cultures, by all means, fuck off and go home. Can I make that even more clear?
I think it's a pretty flag. I think it's a good-looking flag, actually. I actually like the design of it.
Well, even if it's not, I mean, the point is you don't get to go to another country and then demand that the country you're immigrating to then
change its flag.
Then change its entire culture.
No, I'm with you on that. That wouldn't cross my mind. If I was, it would not cross my mind.
Mr. Lee, no, I am an American, and as an American, I'm saying that the English should get off their fucking knees and stand up for their history and their culture, and that's why I advocate for Americans too.
That's why I'm saying I think they're, to some degree, they are trying to make up for their 1,000-year history of conquest around the world by just deleting themselves. They're just like, we're so appalled and embarrassed about our, the sun never sets on the Queen's empire, right? So they're so embarrassed by it that they're just like, let's just delete ourselves. Then we can just say we never did any of those things. We never, went to slay the Aboriginals in Australia. We never do that.
Okay, so one thing about to point out, because a lot of people already think I'm a racist, white supremacist. So let me help reinforce.
Hey, you conquered
opinion.
Your wife. You colonized.
I colonized my wife, and also something I want to point out. So when the Europeans went to Africa, for example, they found a Stone Age people who didn't have the wheel, who were 4,000 years behind everybody else. So what did the British bring with the white man's burden? Let's see. They brought education. They brought a written language. They brought the will. They brought sanitation. They doubled the life expectancy. Once upon a time in Africa, there was this country called Rhodesia. It's called Zimbabwe now. At the time it was called Rhodesia under British rule, it was the richest, most prosperous nation with the highest life expectancy in Africa period. Now it is a failed state called Zimbabwe with hyperinflation, rape gangs, and it is a failed, what's the word? Shithole country.
Shithole?
That is what it is. So you can say that's racist if you want. Fine. I don't care. But the fact is the fact. You stick a bunch of Europeans onto an untamed wilderness where there's a bunch of savages, and I use that word deliberately, they will build a functional nation state with a working economy that has a surplus of food where people are not starving to death. There is nothing to be ashamed of with that. And to answer Lee's question, I am a white American. My family came here in the 1600s to America. Wow. We conquered the North American continent. We built a nation in 200 years. And no, I am not embarrassed about that fact. I'm not ashamed of that fact. And if you have a problem with it, I don't know what to tell you, buddy. I like you. You're a good guy, but you ain't going to white shame me into being I'm going to be some pearl clutching libtard because of my history.
Now, there's a lot. I mean, your family, you are unlike many other.
I'm a legacy American.
What I would call a white American, and those obviously do exist, because we're talking like Mayflower people. Like these are literally like Mayflower people. So yeah, like I would say, you know, they moved out west, and they conquered the territory and went westward, and without them, this country, like I wouldn't be here. You know, I like it.
Yeah, but the Native Americans would still be here.
Sure. So to some degree, I'm like, well, you know, I wouldn't be here if whitey like Robby's people didn't conquer the West. I wouldn't have been plopped out in Los Angeles, that's for sure.
Lee, if there's no such thing as an American, there's no such thing as a Greek or a Brit or a Russian. I mean, dude, check your
white American.
But what does that even mean? No, the Americans saved the British twice.
It's ethnic wise, you're a white American. I'm an Asian American. I have friends who are Mexican American, because just they're pointing out their ethnicity and then nationality. That's very much an American thing, to be a hyphenated person like that, to say your ethnicity and then your nationality. I mean, but it's kind of become like a thing, I guess.
But a long time ago.
Yeah, it's a thing here in America. Like we're obsessed with labeling everything. That's just how it is. But abroad, when I go abroad, no one ever says, "Oh, that Asian American lady." They hear me open my big fat mouth and they're like, "That American." I'm just that American. So it's just here, like domestically, that I'm Asian American. Everywhere else, I'm just an American.
Well, I'm just so sick of the whole white guilt thing. I mean, let's just kind of just check the boxes here.
Silly.
The British Empire ended slavery. The British did that, but no good deed ever goes unpunished. They don't get thanked for that. The British Empire doubled life expectancy of the places in Africa that it conquered. Now the Indians, they kind of got bent over because they played their tribes against each other in the factionalism, but they built the British Raj. And then the British also, I mean, they waged war on China by dumping opium onto their streets, kind of like what the Mexican drug cartels are doing here. That's why the Chinese started the opium wars, just to try to stop it. That's why, for example, Ted, you're curious about if I was serious or not on Deprogrammed on Monday about invading Mexico. No, I'm 100% serious about it, because Mexico is waging war on our country using the drug trade to do it. So I would have no problem whatsoever with negotiating with the president of Mexico. What's her name? Eisenbaum?
Scheinbaum
with the First Marine Division behind me I would straight up be President Polk's second term.
Why would you go to military action when you have military actions for when you don't have diplomatic relations? We have excellent diplomatic relations with Mexico, with the Mexican
Really?
government.
Why does Mexico allow hundreds of thousands of migrants into the country? That's not excellent diplomatic relations. That's them enabling an invasion. That's entirely different thing.
Like, because you know as well as I do, Robby, the history of America's immigration policy is stop and start. Basically, there's no rationale. It's not rational what we do is we close our border, and then we suddenly we're like, the powers that be decide for some reason that they want to open the borders. So they just throw open the borders like at Ellis Island, let everybody in. Then they're like, holy shit, we're closed. And then they treat the people who they let in like shit and say, what the fuck are you guys doing here? Who let you in? It's like, you did. And then it's like, and then they just keep the cycle going over and over again. Nobody really knows, because there's never been told, there's no metric that any American citizen can understand. Like, oh, if unemployment goes below a certain point, we open the border. If the GDP goes over a certain point, we open the border. If we want to depress wages, we open the border. They don't explain it. They just fucking do it, and then they close it. Stop, start, stop, start. It's enough to drive anyone crazy.
Well, we stopped immigration for almost 100 years, so it can obviously be done. And I also want to point out, Congress never abolished immigration laws. And my question to you and people on the left like you is, how many Americans are you willing to sacrifice to the drug trade so that way you can feel good about having open borders?
By the way, the Mexican government is having they can't control the cartels. They would love to get rid of those cartels. No one's suffering more than the Mexicans are.
Then let's help them do it. Let's just go and annex Mexico, make it the 51st
I'm sure
state.
Scheinbaum would agree with you.
Well, then let's make it happen. Let's just annex Mexico and wipe out the cartels. Problem solved.
I don't think annexing Mexico would take care of it.
Mexico is more of a narco state than Venezuela.
We don't control our own cities in this country. I mean,
that's my point.
Look at all the drug cartels that are operating freely in the United States.
I agree. That's the problem. So my question to you is,
I don't think it's a military solution. Or it's like,
Trump is weighing that. Hegseth is allegedly weighing, saying that the next thing is we might do kinetic interactions on land.
Yeah, I know. And with that, I go.
Yeah, we need to go. So we'll leave that there. Robby, if it makes you feel any better, I believe that white people exist. I believe Ted and Robby exist. I believe white males exist. I believe Anglos exist. I actually believe my son is half Anglo-Saxon.
I'm not Anglo-Saxon. Oh, that's not true. Not. I'm half.
No,
I'm not. Dad. I'm not Anglo-Saxon. No. I'm just half Saxon because my German side.
Yeah. Well, also you got
your dad. Then?
Yeah, my dad's side. Rall is a German name. Yeah.
Well, also you got to remember. I mean, I would not be surprised if some of your ancestry came from the Danelaw. Because the Danes, when they conquered northern England, they also conquered Normandy.
Yeah, that's possible.
So it's possible
especially
that your
mom my people are from Brittany, which is close to Normandy.
Yeah, it would not surprise me at all. But beyond exists because we're racist whiteies.
You could be more Anglo-Saxon than you know. So
could be. If I trusted 23andMe, I would do it.
Yeah, anyway. I have a half Anglo-Saxon kid, so I believe he exists. All right, with that, we gotta go. We'll be back on a Friday. We have ghost stories lined up. Woo! Cause Ted, next week is Halloween. Send us ghost stories. Please.
And it's Friday. Halloween is Friday.
I know. So
Very
we're saving the Fridays for scary, spooky stories. Woo! Adios, everybody.
Thanks, Manila. Thanks, Robby.
Yep,
bye, y'all.